You're watching CBS 17 Plus.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Community Matters. I'm Rod Carter. Today, we're talking about something that impacts really all of us, whether we know it or not, and that is mentoring. We're talking about how we can build the next generation of leaders. Amy Summers is the author of a great book called Lift. We're going to meet her in just a second. She's a very accomplished public relations executive and a leader in mentorship and career development. But you know what? I don't have to tell you about it. Let's let her tell you about her. Hang on. Listen to this.
Hi, I'm Amy Summers. I'm speaker, author, and entrepreneur.
I think that's most powerful about the voice is your voice. It's not the written word. So if you know how to use your voice, you can really persuade, and that's what I think is very powerful.
This is going to build trust, and how we're going to do that is by being direct, telling the truth, and acting in fairness. I'm going to show you 2 examples on how to use your candor.
So if somebody comes to me and they say, I've been pitching, cannot get an interview for this client. They need to work on their skill set of closing the deal, which, by the way, all of us can use in different areas of our life. Closing a deal to get a date, closing a deal for sales, closing a deal for all kinds of stuff. It's all about how do we get someone to say yes or no, I don't want to do that. Like, how do we finish it?
I'm so excited. Amy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And full disclosure, Amy and I have known each other for a while. It's been like 10 or 15 years now, I guess, somewhere along those lines.
At least 2 decades.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm so excited to be able to talk to you about this book. First of all, tell us about Lift and what inspired you to write it, what it's all about, and what people can see when they pick that up.
So Lift is all about weaving mentorship into your leadership approach. So I think that we've gotten to the point now where we've treated mentorship like it's a thing. It's something we have to do. It's something on our to-do list, or it's a project, or it's a program. But really, it should be just part of the way we lead. And so I wanted to bring that back in this book to show leaders that it's not so complicated, and we don't have to make it so complicated.
How did mentorship really become a part of who you are? I mean, I think, we talk about this a lot and have over the course of time. I've mentored a lot of journalists. You've mentored a lot of public relations people. In fact, I think the person who reached out to me started out as one of your mentees about this, which I thought was so awesome because she's a great person as well. But how did it become sort of a part of your DNA?
Well, I started my PR agency, Pitch Publicity, at the age of 27. So I would say in the beginning, I wouldn't tell you that I had any mentors. Now, I don't think that that's true looking back now. I think that there's mentorship all around us all the time. But at that young age, I was really just focused on trying to build a company. And along the way, what I realized was you can't really build a company if you're not building people. And so I really fell into entrepreneurship, but I also fell into mentoring. And so that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book, is because so many young professionals ask me today, how did I build my company? How was I able to be successful? And it's really that behind the scenes story that nobody gets to hear that I tell in the book, which is it's all about the people. And so if you build into your people and develop them as talent, then as they rise, you rise too. And that's really the premise of Lift.
And we're looking at all these pictures. Are these some of the young people that you have mentored kind of throughout your career and built? And it's so funny that you say building your own company, but building it on people. And I think people are the foundation of everything we do, or at least it should be.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, what you're seeing now is a lot of my mentees. And so I think I'm up to almost launching 70 careers now. So
isn't that great?
We have a very unique model at Pitch Publicity because I only work with college students. So over the years, I developed a internship mentorship program. So once they graduate from college, I just elevate them right out of my company and let them go on to bigger and better things. But it's made me really hone my skills at developing talent, because I obviously have a lot of turnover, but it's also given me the opportunity to work with a lot of people. And I know that that business model is not a sustainable business model for a lot of companies, but I used it in the book as an example of how we can be good mentors and develop people along the way.
What has been the biggest challenge though for you, or has there been a huge challenge? Is it that turnover that you were mentioning?
I think, as a boss, as a leader, you're always fearful about losing really good talent. So when you pour yourself into somebody and, they become really good, it's that fear of, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose this person. And the problem with that is that if you do your job and you do develop them, they should outgrow you. They should be able to move on to another team at the company, or maybe even another company altogether. And I think just, being okay with that is part of growing as a leader. And I discuss it a lot in the book, that you have to have these healthy exits. And I think that that's an aspect of mentorship that we don't really think about a lot. And that you can stay in touch with these, people that you've developed. And a lot of times it comes right back at you anyway. They can end up being, a customer or a client in the future, or I don't know, maybe even your boss one day.
Yeah. That's the funny part. It cracks me up sometimes when you look up and you see, hey, wait a minute, that guy's my boss. He was my intern for a while. But speaking from a mentor perspective, I've always thought that to be one of the most rewarding things about giving back to young people. When you see them do better than you, I think you're winning, because you want that. My parents always wanted the best and the best next thing for me. And so I kind of look at it the same way.
Yes, it's really fulfilling and rewarding. And when you pour yourself into your career, as many of us do, that's the joy in it. And that's what I wanted to get across in the book too, that, a lot of times I think we're told this fable that, if we don't have kids and a family, we're going to be lonely at the end of our lives.
Right.
Not true. People ask me how many kids I have. I said, I've lost count, but I think it's like 50 plus by now.
Exactly. You know what? I'm going to start using that too, honestly, because people ask me all the time, you don't have any kids? And I always just go, yeah, my cars. But I mean, that's about it. But I'm going to start saying all my mentees.
A judgment question, right? When people ask
does.
that. And I've just gotten used to saying, well, I've got, lots, because it's true. I mean, if you pour yourself into anybody, you're going to see traits of yourself in them.
And you know what? Half of these kids call me news pops. So yeah, I feel like I am their dad sometimes. Amy, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we want to kind of talk about some other things related to technology and mentoring and how important that is. So let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. I want to talk a little bit about technology and the changes that we've seen, especially AI. How has that reshaped what you do, entry-level jobs, and how you mentor young people?
Well, I think technology is great on one hand because it makes us more efficient, more productive. We can get things done faster. But it also causes a lot of problems as well. I mean, I don't get as many questions as I used to, because, young people will go to AI first and ask, AI for assistance.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I think encouraging questions, and really as a leader, you have to initiate a lot of the conversations now. I think that it's really important that we continue to have that human touch in our work and not let screens separate us from people. Mm-hmm. Because what I'm noticing is where people are lacking in skills are things that AI cannot teach you. So just relationships, for example, building relationships, overcoming objections, being able to think on your feet when you're asked a question and that you weren't expecting. I will call my team members out of the blue, unscheduled, and it always shocks them.
Yeah.
But, there's some critical thinking skills that you don't develop if you're not being called on, mm-hmm. And we have really just scheduled everything. Even my mom will text me and say, can I call you? So we don't have the unexpected anymore. I call it spontaneous communication. And we really have to practice that and strengthen those skills.
Do you think we're losing our next step of leaders because of that sort of thing?
I think that this is an area where they're going to be weak. And I'm already seeing it a lot. I mean, many things that you and I took for granted. I know you're teaching now, but you're probably teaching virtually. I've taught virtually as well. I taught a whole class where I never had my students live. They could do the assignments whenever they wanted to. And of course, they always turn it in at 11:59 p.m. as so they're not learning time management skills. When you're in person and live, In a classroom setting, for example, in college, and a professor calls on you, you have to speak in front of a whole crowd of people and be ready. And that just doesn't happen anymore. So in the business world, if you get called out, like in the middle of a sales meeting, you want to be able to, think on your feet. And so you want to still have those skills. And so that's where they're really weak. And so leaders need to recognize that they may be coming in with these, really big degrees, and they're super smart and they know how to do a lot of the technology stuff. But when it comes to just simple cocktail conversation or dinner with the client,
that elevator pitch thing, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I will tell you, it's funny you mentioned that, because we were discussing in the class that I'm taking about how technology has made such a huge difference in education and how we teach and how we reach out to students. And it's made me think a lot about, I try to do things with my students where I go, hey, so we have a discussion board. I need you to take part in this. You're going to get a grade for it, because that kind of resonates with people. And you need to communicate about other people's thoughts and ideas. But it's difficult. It's almost like herding cats to get them to get involved. So what do you think we need to do? What do these young people need from mentors now to help them get over that hump?
So I have 10 touch points in my book, Lift, just little reminders to be more habitual about intention. And so one of them is break remote barriers. We always have to think about, how can we break down these screens and meet up in person? You will be amazed how much someone will learn just by being around you. And this is something we take for granted. So I call it mentorship by osmosis, how it used to be back in the day when we were starting in our careers, Rod, where you just go to the office and you observe people around you and you say, okay, I'm going to be more like her. I'm definitely not going to do what he just did. Like, right. You pick up on things. It's just similar to sending your kid to preschool. Like they learn how to socialize. But what we have with these younger people coming up is that they haven't been socialized in the business world, and mostly they've been on screens in college, and then they come into the workforce and they're still in this hybrid or remote environment, and they don't know, how to interact and interplay. And so we have to teach that as leaders. That's going to fall on us.
Yeah, you talk about that in the book, and how you change interns into real contributors and make them kind of really, I think it gets them invested. Why do you think the turnover you talked about is one of the reasons why more companies don't do something like that? I mean, we all have internships and interns come and go, but why don't we do more of that where they're invested? I think it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it's really important, give them something that's, one of the biggest things I think I hear from young people is that they do internships and they're doing things that don't matter. They're just doing busy work or go work on our social, pages, but there's no purpose in it. So one of the other touch points is, provide purpose, give them the bigger picture. It's hard to see the bigger picture, especially if you're not in the office and you're not around your leaders that much. So if you are in a hybrid or remote situation, you have to be more intentional about calling people, letting them hear your voice, bringing them to a meeting. They don't even have to do anything. They just have to watch you and observe. They're going to learn so much in such a short amount of time. Have them travel with you to a conference. Mm-hmm. That learning is something that is very valuable.
When you were first starting out as a student, and then I'm assuming you were probably an intern at some point, did you get more from just being in the room? I mean, my first shadowing job with journalism, I was in high school. I kind of knew I sort of wanted to do this. And then I went out with this woman who was an anchor, and she interviewed the mayor. We covered a fire and all of that within like 2 or 3 hours. And I was like, I'm there. Is that kind of what you mean by that osmosis and getting in there, just feeling and seeing what's going on?
Absolutely. When I was in school at the University of Florida, my first internship was at Shands Hospital. And so I was interning with the head of their media relations department. And this woman, I talk about her in the book, but she had a makeup bag hidden in her desk so that if there was any emergency at the hospital, she had to be on camera with TV. She was ready to go. And I learned so much from her in a few months than I had learned in my whole, schooling at UF. And the educations there are very valuable as well. but just watching her in action is what really helped me get excited about my profession, but also know what to do if I was in a crisis situation.
Yeah, I mean, that learning by doing kind of thing is hugely important. So you talked about a free virtual mentorship program that you started. Tell me about that, what it is, and kind of how it works.
Sure. So I launched a platform called INICIVOX, and that
I
just
couldn't
means,
pronounce it. That's why I skipped it. I was like, I'm not going to screw this up.
it just means to inspire through your voice. It's just two Latin words. Nisi means to inspire, and Vox is voice. And I launched it in 2020 because the waiting list for internships at my company had gotten really long, and I started to realize I'm never going to reach everybody, but there was this huge need for it. So on the platform, we have had seminar series that go really into deep topics like sexism and racism, things that people don't normally talk about, that we go out in the open. And then we go into other topics that, like, what should I wear to this? And, how should I present in a virtual interview, that are a little bit more day-to-day type of questions. But it's all virtual. People can drop in there. It's a free resource. But I just wanted to make it more accessible, because that let's go to coffee thing, it's just not happening anymore. And I recognize that. And it's a great way to just empower people to mentor, but also for mentees to get a lot of mentorship at one time.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think it does make a big difference just to be able to talk to someone, even if it is virtual. Like you said, there's the issues that people may have with that, but it just gives them opportunity. The book is called Lift, an art and visual narrative by Stephen Palladino. And I'm so excited to know that I know who that is. I'm glad you told me. That is so funny. But you can pick this book up. Tell me a little bit about where people can get it.
Anywhere you can purchase books online, and it's also on Audible too. So if you don't have time to read, you can listen to my voice for 7.5 hours.
I love that. Your voice is fantastic. All right, we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, I just have a couple more questions for you, then we'll be done, and you can go about the rest of your day, because I know you got some of this stuff planned. So we'll take a break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to Community Matters. Today, we are having a great conversation with Amy Summers. Amy Summers is the author of a book called Lift, and I'm going to go back up here and show that to you. This is a cover of the book. It's about mentoring and intentional mentoring, and how we can build the next generation of leaders. So let's welcome Amy back. Hey there.
Hi.
Glad to have you back with us. So when we were talking about young people trying to figure out their next step in their life, and what's the most important thing, for them when they pick up this book, what is the thing they're going to learn, but what is the most important thing for them to know about, kind of getting that ball started? And I have 2 interns. One of them is probably coming in here in about 15 minutes. This is her last day, and the other one, her last day is coming up, and I want to be able to give them some good stuff to go home with. So what do they need to know to make it?
I would say to not sit back, not wait for someone to invite you into mentorship. Don't wait for someone to say, I'm going to be your mentor, because it's probably not going to happen. And how awkward is it to ask someone to be your mentor? So what I would say is don't sit back, and to just start volunteering, raising your hand, saying, hey, I would like to help you on this. Most people do not reject help. So if you see someone that you aspire to be like, or if you see a team in your company that you're like, I wish I was on that team and not on the current team that I am, just offer to do some work for them. And before you know it, you're going to be mentored. They're not going to even know they're mentoring you, but just being around them, you're going to learn so much. But I think the biggest thing that young people need to do not sit back. I think that is what they tend to do these days. But you have to, if you want the experience, you have to ask for it.
I almost wonder if that is a byproduct of the kind of COVID era too, that young people are so used to just being in front of screens that they don't realize that those social skills are kind of lacking, and that they need to be out there just asking questions. And also, and this is for mentors who may be listening too, and this is just me, and maybe you'll agree with me, we also need to do a better job of checking in. Sometimes we get a mentor and we're like, oh, I haven't talked to them, but did we call them? So we need to call them and check on them, and they need to call us and check on us. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, the thought always goes through my head, if I call somebody right now, it's going to eat up 20 minutes of my day that I just don't have. So you have to think about, where can I put these impromptu calls in? I'll do them a lot when I'm walking my dog, or maybe I'll be in an Uber going from one point to the other. I'll be like, okay, this is when I'm going to do it. It's just a spontaneous call, and I'm going to call somebody right now. But we do have to do it because they are sitting back and they're not reaching out all the time. And you want them to learn from you. You don't want them to just learn from AI, because you are very talented and you want to reproduce that talent in other people and replicate it.
You know what I do too? This is where technology works. I'll just send a text like, hey, just checking in on you, making sure you're good, anything you need, and that sort of thing. And then if it becomes one of those like, oh my God, I'm glad you reached out, like, can I call you? Then we can schedule something or call right then. But I think it's important that mentoring be a two-way street. And I'm not sure why I needed to sit up and straighten up to say that, but I felt like it. So if organizations want to get this right, aside from the very first thing, which is picking up your book, what does the future of the workplace look like with a heavy emphasis on mentoring?
I would say just remember that mentorship is relationship, and we need to have relationship with the people that we work with. I think for so many years we were told not to be in relationship with the people that we work with, but that's not right. You know, we need to know what's going on with our team, what makes them tick, what are they getting excited about, what projects can we give them that will really light them up. And we can't do that by assumption and just giving directives. There has to be a conversation. We have to know what they're interested in. So I would say, let's be more human centric and more human focused. The more AI comes in, we're going to have to really fight for it, because if we don't, we're going to lose that human connection, and it's completely valuable.
And we do not want to do that, because I think that's the thing that makes us, you know, when I teach young journalists how to write, I said, you can tell anybody any story as long as you find the human connection to it. We're all different, but we all share that human emotion. So once you find that connection, you're good to go. Last question, and then I'll let you go, because I don't want to be one of those 20-minute phone calls. It's too late, though, isn't it? If there's one takeaway that you want people to get from Lift, what is that takeaway?
There's plenty of room up there at the top. You can elevate someone. If you elevate someone, you're going to be elevated. But there is plenty room for success up there. It's not limited. So I want people to get out of the mindset that we have to hold people back, or, you know, make them go through what we went through to get there. Let's just break that and just help everyone.
And I learned so much from interns and young people and mentees that I think it's such a great two-way street. It's a great two-way
Absolutely.
street.
It keeps you relevant. It keeps you know, understanding what's really going on. And I do learn a lot from my mentees all the time. And so it should be a two-way relationship.
I learned so much slang. It's great, because I feel like the old man in the room, so I don't know what half of this stuff means. And the other day we had a journalism boot camp that I teach every year at FAMU in Tallahassee, and they told me something new, so I feel young and hip. I'm never going to use that.
It's a whole different vocabulary.
It is. I'm never going to use it in person.
From spilling the tea to this. This? You don't have.
Yeah, this thing, all that stuff. Yeah, they taught me a new one. I'm the birthday. That means the tension's on me. So that's how you say. Yeah,
as it should be.
That's what they say. I'm not saying. That's what they say. Amy, thank you so much. First of all, my friend, it's so good to see your smiling face. I missed talking with you and working with you when we both worked out in Florida, but it's great to see it. I'm so proud of this book that you've done, and I can't wait for people to pick it up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy. And that's going to do it for us. That's our last hoorah, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking in with another edition of Community Matters. I'm Rod Carter. Take care. We'll see you next time.